Last week, I was not here because I was down in Westlake. So I traveled down there. I have to play at Ice Cream Panic. I went Thursday night, and I used to go like Friday morning at like 3 in the morning. I was like, oh no, I'll be down early, it'll be good, right? Well, I neglected to think in terms of, well, I give myself 2.5 hours from Union to like Islip. That's about 50 minutes. I go like, hey, I'm in good shape. Yeah, no. And so the traffic was crazy, so I was totally freaking out, which is exactly what I do when I start to think, well, I'm not going to make it. And I'm like, I have no idea if I'm going to be able to sell my ticket back, or get a new ticket, or all this other stuff. But that's only half the problem. The bigger problem is that they changed the numbers of the signs on the parkway. I don't know why they decided to renumber the signs. They seem to be perfectly fine. They're the same signs that were there in like 1978 when I was born. They're the same signs that were there in the 80s, in the 90s. But now the sign numbers are different. So on top of already freaking out that there's traffic, now I'm totally freaking out because I'm lost. Right? And there used to be this big blue sign that said Islip, Metro Park, all that stuff right there. Yeah, they took that down. So then now, so I'm like, oh my gosh. And you know, the funny thing is, I grew up in Union. I think the number on the parkway, like you have the old saying, oh, you're from New Jersey, what exit are you? What exit? So we're like 139. Islip's like 131. That's like 8 miles. I've traveled that stretch of highway about, I don't know, 100,000 times. You know, I know where the stops are. I know like where like the service roads are, whatever. You change the numbers, and I'm completely lost. I'm totally freaking out. I'm like, wait, I know the bends in the road. I've driven this road a million times. I'm like, now, I'm just like totally freaked out. I'm lost. And so, you'd think that I would know the way, but, you know, it doesn't take much for me to get lost. Which is kind of the story today in the gospel. It's about getting lost and how easy it is to get lost over and over and over again. The only story that people know, like if you surveyed about the Bible, the only story that people know better than the prodigal son, does anyone know what it is? Yeah. What's that? No. Yeah, you think that what? Noah's Ark? No, not Noah's Ark. It's a New Testament one. No, nobody knows? It is, I just lost my...
Oh, the one that gets lost in the parkway?
Sorry, the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan is the only story in the Bible that everybody knows except Did you say the Good Samaritan? I'm forgiven. Okay? So the Good Samaritan. So these are stories that we know. We know the bends in the road. We know what's going to happen next. We know all the players and all the parts and stuff like that. But yet, regardless of the fact, we kind of forget the story of the prodigal son over and over and over again. Because it's the same story each time. God loves us, and we forget, and then we need to be reminded. The entire Bible, in a nutshell, is the prodigal son. It is a story of gift, right? Whether you're talking about Adam and Eve, or any other story, or Noah's Ark, or any of the other ones, it's all simply the same story. God loves you, God cares for you, then there's some kind of mess up, and then you're out, and then you're like, can I get in? Can I not get in? Am I okay? Am I accepted? Is it over? Have I broken these kinds of things? And I'm out again. And then God says, oh no, you're back. It's all good. But we think about it over and over and over again. And I'll be quite honest with you, it's not just in the Bible that we take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. We do this every day in our relationships with one another. This is the most widely known relationship story in the whole wide world. Because we all have these moments where we're in relationship with people. Sometimes it's with their families. Sometimes it's with their friends. Sometimes it's with our spouses. Sometimes it's with their boyfriends or girlfriends, whoever it is that we are in love with. We have the same story, don't we? Where something happens and we become toxic to ourselves. We get on the parkway and we're lost. And the answer is, I'm just going to keep on going and I'm going to get there. I don't know about you, but I know for a fact that if I keep on going on the parkway, we will not get to Washington, D.C. You got to get on the turnpike. But I'm going to keep going that same way. And we do this, though, with our personal relationships with one another. Right? We love somebody, we care about somebody, we have great interactions with somebody. Right? And then they say, oh, hey, let's get together and kind of like hook up, like let's, cuddle or whatever it is. And then they say something offends you, and then you withhold love from them and don't go over. Do you know, am I the only person who, all right, I'm the only person in the world that has these kind of relationship issues. Come on, man. This is reality. This is what happens. We do this. I talked about this a little bit this morning about turtling, right? I'm upset with you. I'm mad at you. You didn't say what I wanted you to say because I've created this whole thing in my mind of expectations. I say this and you say that, and I say this and you say that, and it's all good. And then I say this and you say something completely different, and I'm completely offended. And I'm like, hold on. Let me pull my head into my calm thing here. Let me get in the shell because this is going to make things better. It's like saying that I'm going to zing you when you've offended me, and you're going to go, you're absolutely right. What was I thinking? I'm going to absolutely, I totally want to go with what you're saying. I'm on your side now. Tell me, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever zinged somebody, and they were like, oh my gosh, you've enlightened me, and now I'm all better, and this is all good with us. Has anyone had that? Because I've never had. That has always usually started like the arms race, the emotional dialing of, oh yeah, do you know what you did? You know what you said? You know what happened here? And it just keeps on going back and forth. And we keep on having these same relationship issues. And the prodigal son is all about those same relationship issues. It's about something has happened, and instead of trying to get it straightened out, trying to rectify it, trying to, move closer. It's all about us moving further away. It's all about us saying we're going to get on the parkway and keep on going further and further away, and we're going to get back closer. I'm going to keep on doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results every single time. Does this sound familiar to anybody, or is it just something that goes on to me? So we have these experiences and we stay lost and we just don't seem to get straightened out. One of the main reasons, the number one reason, is that we feel alone. We feel completely and utterly separated by others. And there are reasons, whether they are physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, that we feel separated and alone. And that aloneness makes us withhold love. That aloneness makes us withhold our total selves and beings. I was watching TV, and I incredibly, every once in a while, I do go through the channels when there's no football on. And there is a commercial for psoriasis. And it was all about seeming. It was all about the fact that people who have psoriasis feel like they're very alone. And they feel like nobody else has psoriasis. Well, you know what? 20 million other people in America have psoriasis. You're not alone. The same holds true for addiction. 7 million people have psoriasis. Addiction. When we have addictions, we feel like we're separated and alone. Whatever it is, it's my thing. The facts tell us otherwise. 20 million people have addictions, right? What about mental health, mental illness, right? We think that we're the only person with mental health or mental illness issues. And so we are alone. Statistics tell us 12 million Americans have mental illness. And so this feeling of shame, this feeling of separation, this feeling of anxiety and aloneness creates this withholding of who we are with one another and with God. I guarantee you, for whatever you have, whatever you got, if you Googled it, I don't go to the library so no one sees it on your history. You Google this, and you saw the average number of people, you would be surprised that you are not alone. So that's the first step in realizing that this prodigal son issue is that the separation is in our heads. The separation of the negative self-talk, the separation of it's all about me, it's not about you. The separation that now that I know this about myself, I can't connect with you. It's just not true. And so the other thing is that we have these feelings that we're separated, and we're separated for a reason, and so we don't need the other person. Right? And so we get, you've heard of passive aggressive, this is just aggressive aggressive. You know what I'm talking about? Does anybody do aggressive now? You know, we all start developing the things like the zingers. We start thinking about the things and why we don't need them. We start building up this wall, like, like a mason. We got like a trowel, and we got some bricks. And like, we don't need that person anymore. And we're building bricks like you would not believe. We're throwing up trowel, we're throwing the stuff in there, and it's getting higher and higher. Because we don't want to admit that we're alone. We don't want to admit that there is a richness to ourselves, but the more importantly, that there's a richness to the relationship by which we are in. Our love being withheld, hold it from ourselves, but hold it from somebody else who deeply loves and cares about us. And we are hurting that other person. And so the prodigal son story is also about this relationship with God that is the passive aggressive. I know there's nobody out there who is passive aggressive, so let me explain what passive aggressive is. Passive aggressive is, and I talked about this morning, right? It's the answer of okay and fine. We have our okay and fine, folks. You know, we go back and forth. Okay, right? Okay means that there's something in the last 20 minutes of conversation or the last 20 years of conversation that you have to review and figure out what you did wrong to get you to okay, right? Because somebody's holding on to that for dear life. Holding on to something that you did in 1997, and now, okay, right? Or you go back and forth and it's fine. How are you? Fine, right? You wake up in the morning, fine. Yeah, you definitely. If someone says in the morning they wake up and they're fine, it's not. They're totally not fine, right? And so this is what the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all of them are dealing with. They are the passive aggressive ones. They are the ones who feel as if I've been here the whole time. I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm supportive, and you do this to me. And so now, fine. So God, if you will, is constantly in the middle of this. He's got the aggressive, or she has the aggressive aggressors and the passive aggressors. Because we're on either angry and driving down the road, or refusing to ask for directions. And you just took a minute to think, if I'm on the parkway, do you think there's nobody else lost in the entire Garden State Parkway between those two people? Do you know how utterly stupid it is to think that I'm totally alone in that moment and place and time? But we think that for every single thing that we do. And we also think that about our relationship with God. We think that there's a laundry list that keeps us on the back of God. Just ask the clergy. I was doing a little commentary work last night, preparing for Psalm 32. And the story from this clergy member was this. He said, Psalm 32 is important to your soul, important to our relationship with God, because it's about confession. And he said there was a story that he read about this pastor who was stepping down and said, that he'd done some inappropriate things and that he was going to step down. And so this clergy person was writing, well, it's no good unless he admits to what those things are. It's no good unless he says what the inappropriate things are. And I thought to myself, really? It's no good for who? Is it no good for, does God not know? Does God need for that person to announce those things in front of the congregation? Or more important, is he answerable to you? The clergy has heard a lot. And if I've heard anybody, I apologize. This is the truth that we over and over and over. The answer is not for you. The answer is not for us. The confession of Psalm 32 is for God. And what does God say? What's the response? Blessed are you who need forgiveness. Blessed are you who trust God enough to say, this is what's bothering me. This is what I've done wrong. Not blessed are you who get on Facebook and announce it. Not blessed are you who take heat from everybody else so that they can be difficult. Not blessed are you who also want to be out in Bloggersville and look at people and go, oh, he's black. Right? Because maybe you're like kind of competitive. No, really. Because nobody in churches are ever competitive with anybody else in the churches. That's all. We just make that situation. Right? Do you ever think about it? It's between you and God. Because that's what the passive aggressive folks were. They wanted to know they wanted to know the tidbits and the intangibles. Because they wanted to be able to hold people away. And we do that sometimes. Right? There are people out there with placards reminding you of what you did wrong and what you did right. Or they are on Facebook telling you what you did wrong and what you did right. Or we refer to them as white trash and trailer trash or any other kind of stuff that makes them feel like they are garbage. 32 is not about being reconnected with one another. Not so that you can feel sorry for them. It's about empathy. It's about love. It's about your wholeness and your goodness that God wants you out. It's about seeing somebody that you know and you love and you care about so much, and they have so much angst and so much distrust and so much surety that things are not okay, that it's messing up who they are. And God is. God says, I want you to be off the known, and I want you to mount the fruit that comes from the very ground. To trust your strength, to love your strength, and to be reminded of your wrongness. Now, we're all in different places. We all are on a different journey. And what's good for